Okay, today we're going to look at how to set up a Victor style torch FC315 series. The things you need to check when you first open it up and take it out of the box is first you want to visually inspect all the little nuts that's on here. You want to make sure that these are not cross-threaded up in here and up in here. And you want to make sure that all the rest of them look snug. Then as a safety precaution, since they come from China and they go through a lot of shipping processes, we just want to check all of these using a crescent wrench, just kind of make sure they're snug. Which all of these are snug. We also want to check the nuts up under the valves. Make sure they're good and snug. You don't want to over tighten them, but you want them snug so they don't leak. That one was just a little bit loose there. Then you want to make sure the handle is functioning properly by squeezing it. It should pop up. It should seal right up against the base there. There shouldn't be a big crack whenever it's functioning right. Sometimes during shipping this might get bent, which would cause it to malfunction a little bit. But other than that, they're a pretty good little torch handle. Now once we have all that done, what we want to do is on each of the valves, open them all the way up and then close them down as tight as possible. And to make sure on a new torch, you need to set it and make sure the little thing seals. So what I'll do is put a little rag over it to prevent scarring, and just use adjustable wrench to kind of give it one little snug turn to make sure it goes down. I'll do that on each one of these. And on the fuel side, okay. After you snug them down, you can do it by hand from that point on in the future. Okay, next we're going to hook up the hoses. Now on these threads here, most places will tell you not to use the plumber's tape or the white tape on the ends here on the fuel side. I usually put it on the oxygen side. Some people still put it on the fuel, but you're not supposed to. So I'll go ahead and wrap the oxygen side up to hook up the hoses. Okay, next I'll go get my hoses to hook them up. Now when you're about to install the hoses, you want to check and make sure they're not cracked. After a while, this is an old set of hoses that I'm using in the video, but this is not the one I normally use to work with. But you see how they all are starting to crack a little bit? When they get like that, you should replace them. And usually it depends how much you leave them outside and all. It'll take about maybe a couple of years before they go bad. But if they're in the direct sunlight all the time, you might want to change them about once a year or so. And these little connections also, you want to check and make sure that they look okay with no defects in them and stuff. Now the green is going to be for the oxygen.
So you're doing a propane setup here, huh?
I use propane. Most people use acetylene. But propane is cheaper, but it don't make as clean of a cut. Now the fuel side, you got opposite threads on it. Just turn it the opposite way you turn the oxygen. Next, you want to use a crescent wrench to kind of snug them up. Okay, I have all my valves off right now, as tight as they'll go by hand. Now I'm going to go turn on my fuel and oxygen.
So you don't use flashback arrestors on this setup?
Well, flashback arrestors are good, and we'll have another video on that. I'm just showing you how to check the torch for leaks right now.
So you turn on both tanks, you open up the valves on both tanks?
Yes, on the oxygen and on the propane. Now the first thing we do before we turn any valves on the torch is you just take a little bit of soapy water like you use on tires and stuff, and you just want to spray it around where the hoses hook up. Make sure there's no bubbles coming out there. Next, you want to spray up along these bolts. And don't spray it hard. If you spray it hard, it makes bubbles, so you just spray it lightly. And if it is leaking, you'll see big bubbles come up fast. Then you want to check every nut on here to make sure it's not leaking. So far, no bubbles showing up. Now, usually when you get these torches, this bolt here is kind of loose, so you do need to tighten it. It's designed where you can take the top piece off if you want, or you can spin this. By loosening it, you can spin it to adjust it and stuff, but always make sure it's tightened down before you go anywhere with it. Okay, now we need to turn on the fuel to check any of the ones above here. So I'm going to turn on make sure this one's closed. Turn on my oxygen and turn on my fuel. Okay, with the fuel on and the oxygen on, we're going to go ahead and check anything below this right here. And as you can see, there's no bubbles coming up on that side. Then we'll just check the other side and make sure. No bubbles on that side. Now we'll turn the oxygen all the way up and then open it up on this valve. My hands are full of soap. And while it's open, we want to check along this nut here, along these.
About the little red valve.
Yeah, we'll check that in just a second. And right here on the little red valve where you depress the button, just spray along there.
So it's actually running now.
Uh-huh.
So you don't have any propane tips left? You're out of propane tips?
Well, I have some, but I just don't have them in stock right now. So as you see, there's no leaks along here. No bubbles coming up. We've checked it everywhere they have a connection, and both fuels are running right now. Okay, once you check everything, you can turn it off. And apply whatever tip you want to use on it. Okay, that shows you basically how to check everything when it first comes out the package and the safety procedures you need to do before actually using the torch. After you get through with it, you just want to unhook everything, kind of wipe it up, make sure there's no soap up in the little tip and stuff like that, and then you'll be ready to go.
Are you able to show us a little example of if a tube was leaking, maybe loosen one of those up to show how the bubbles will show?
Sure. 1 second. This is some old hoses, so they do have like a small leak in it, but you can see the bubbles starting to show right up in here. That's why I'm not going to use these hoses anymore. I'm just using it for the video that we're making right now. But this is the hose fault, and it's not the fault of the torch. It's very important you check these things, and also use flashback arrestors and check valves to make sure that in this case, if it was leaking bad enough and it's leaking oxygen, it could ignite and the flame could go all the way back down to the bottle. So that's why it's important to put check valves here and oxygen or flashback arrestors on the tank part of it. But we'll show you all that in a separate video. Thank you for watching.